What's up guys, Jakob Owens here for the Buff Nerds, and today I'm going to talk to you about what lenses you should buy for your camera, whether it's photo or video, and why. So I think one of the most common questions that most people receive, and I know I receive, is which lenses people should buy. I get asked all the time like, hey, I do photography, or I'm trying to get into videography, which lenses should I buy? And there's really three, maybe four things that you need to take into consideration when it comes to buying a lens and which lens you should buy. Number one, are you shooting photo, video, or both? So recently I just got a question on Instagram talking about which lens the person should buy because they shoot a lot of videos. Now, they sent me like a list of a couple lenses and I said none of those lenses have IS on them. And IS is image stabilization. And that's important when you're shooting video, especially on like a DSLR where it's easy to get a lot of shakes. It's hard to keep it steady, so you might get a lot of jitters. So when you're shooting videography or video on a DSLR and you need a camera lens for video, I would recommend a camera lens with IS. So again, this comes into play, whether you're shooting photos or video, or if you're doing both. So think critically about, what you're going to be using these lenses for, and then do your research into the lens and the different capabilities of the lens. Like, does it have image stabilization? Number two is subject matter. Are you going to be filming landscapes, nature landscapes, where you're going to need a very wide angle lens? Are you doing more portrait photography where you're going to need more of a 50mm up close, kind of very tack sharp lens? Are you going to be shooting a lot of run and gun to where you can't switch your lenses a lot, so you need a wide focal range from maybe like a 24 to 70 or a 24 to 105mm lens? So again, you need to think, what is your subject matter that you're going to be shooting or that you're used to shooting, and you need to pick a lens that's going to best suit that subject matter. Number three are the ways you like to shoot. Do you like a lot of just still prime, static shots where you're gonna use a prime lens to get something like that? Or do you like the ability to zoom in and zoom out and crash in, crash out, where you're gonna need a lens that has, some focal range where you can zoom in and zoom out? So what are the ways you like to shoot? Again, super important when deciding what lens you're going to use, not only for photography, but videography. And number four is price range. Obviously, price is a big factor when purchasing any lens. There's a lot of cheaper lenses that can achieve relatively the same results as, say, a more expensive lens. And, the cheaper the lenses you buy, the more lenses you can buy. So again, think critically about the price point. And do you want the ability to have a wide angle lens, a zoom lens, a telephoto lens? And so if you only have a certain amount of money, you buy the cheaper versions of each of those so you have all three lenses? Or do you want just one single lens that's a beast, that costs a lot of money, that's beautiful, and that's all you can afford, and so that's what you're gonna rock with? So again, these are four different categories that you really need to all take into consideration when it comes to buying a lens, whether it's for photography or videography. Now quickly, I'm gonna tell you about the lenses I have and why I have them and what I recommend. So I shoot a lot of music videos. I also do a lot of independent run and gun stuff when I'm traveling. And so the lenses I have for my Canon 1DX, which I'm shooting on right now, as well as my Red Epic, are this. So first up, I have a wide angle lens. I don't have it in my hands right here because it's on my 1DX that I'm shooting with right now. That is the Canon 16 to 35mm f4 lens with image stabilization. And now why I have this lens with image stabilization is because I love to use this lens on the go when I'm traveling for video. I throw it on my glide cam in the 1DX and I fly around. So image stabilization for the video is super important. This same lens you can get this same lens at a 2.8 instead of an f4, and it doesn't have image stabilization. And so that lens is gonna be I'm not gonna say way worse, but it's gonna be not as effective for video as this lens. Again, thinking critically about, do I shoot video, do I shoot photo, what am I gonna use this lens most for? So I bought the 16 to 35 wide angle f4 lens because it has image stabilization, and I shoot the majority video. Next up, you need to have a lens, at least for me, I like to have a lens with a little bit of focal range that can get you anywhere. I don't like to use prime lenses because then you're stuck at one focal length and you have to switch between a lot of lenses, if you only have prime lenses. So having a lens that goes, you know, from 24 to 70 millimeter focal range allows me to get a wide shot at 24. It allows me to get a medium close-up at 50, and it kind of allows me to get a 70 millimeter telephoto look a little bit. So again, I like to have a wide-angle lens. I like to have a lens that has a kind of a medium focal range that can get me from wide to a little more zoomed in. And then ultimately, you have to, in my opinion, you absolutely must have a telephoto lens. It's really well built. I've had this thing for about 3-4 years now, and it's a tank. But basically, you know, this is a 70 to 200 f2.8 lens from Canon, and it's got image stabilization. So again, I needed a lens because I shoot mostly video with image stabilization. So when I have this lens on at 200 millimeters, it's really easy to get some shakes and jitters. But because this lens has image stabilization, my video footage is much more smoothed out and still. Now, if I didn't have a lens, a zoom lens with image stabilization, and I was zoomed into 200 millimeters, my footage would probably be very shaky. Buy lenses that are gonna just better enhance what you're trying to use them for. And this is kind of a little extra. One of my favorites, that it's quickly become one of my favorites, is the Canon 100mm macro lens. A macro lens is a lens that you can use to get very fine details, so like very close-ups of blades of grass, fingernails, eyes, textures on trees, or whatever it is. This lens allows you to get very detailed shots, not only for photography, but videography as well. I love this lens. This is kind of a little specialty lens. This isn't a lens that you're gonna use 90% of the time. This is a lens that if you have the money and you want that little extra feature of getting macro shots, a lens like this is, you know, a good go-to. Same thing with this fisheye lens. This is a Rokinon fisheye lens. This is a lens you're not gonna use all the time. This is a lens that is a specialty lens. You know, when you want a certain look, you're gonna have this lens in your kit, and you're gonna throw it on for a cool look. So to reiterate, in my opinion, you need 3 lenses if you're a videographer or a photographer. That is a wide angle lens, a medium to telephoto lens with a lot of focal range length, and then a telephoto lens. Those are the 3 lenses, in my opinion, that you need to have and that I always take with me on every trip, no matter what, or video shoot. Sweet guys, I hope that helped you guys learn a little bit about lenses and might influence your decision on what you know that you need to go get now for your lenses yourself. If you have any further questions, please comment below. Let me know. I know buying a lens can be a very stressful and expensive thing, so the last thing you want to do is make a mistake when buying a lens and being like, crap, I should have bought this lens instead. So comment below if you have any questions and concerns about lenses, or which ones, you know, I might recommend for you and which camera, because certain lenses depend on which camera you have too. If you have a Sony lens and you have a Sony camera, they're gonna pair really well together because of the autofocus features will work very seamless. A Canon lens, the autofocus features will not work with a Sony camera like a Sony camera would work with a Sony lens. So that's another thing to take into consideration. Again, if you have any questions, please drop a comment below. I'm here to help you guys. I've also listed all my different lenses in the description below, so check out my lenses. I use these things for pretty much everything, from my music videos to my travel videos to my tutorials. So appreciate you guys for watching. Drop a like, make sure to subscribe. I have a lot of other tutorials and different helpful videos that I'll drop a link to right now.